Hello and welcome to The Agenda with me, Graham Hughes, and I'm joined, as always, by Phil Moorhouse of A Different Bias fame. How you doing, Phil?
I'm all right.
How's it going? How many
All right.
subscribers have you got now? You used to have like
I'm I'm I'm
200,000 something.
almost at I'm almost at a quarter of a million.
Oh my giddy aunt, that's
See, a
amazing.
certain Nigel Farage shit in the bed has boosted it somewhat of late.
Well done, mate. Big shout out to Billy Kershaw and to Diz and to Richard Woody, and Sphere Lance as well. Witchy Goth. We've got Diz, Roger Devine in there. We've got Alden Warwick. We've got Stu the Bearded as well. Listen, if you want to join the chat, just hit the subscribe button, join the conversation. So today we're going to be talking about Burnham's speech, unashamedly Labour. Apparently, he came out with 5 points that he wanted to get across to people. But one of the big ones was ending the factionalism within Labour. Good luck with that. How do you feel?
Good luck. But, well, I mean, it's the right thing to say. What I would say of his speech today is it was all the right thing to say. Yeah. Because ultimately, what do you do in a speech? You need to win over the people for whom that speech is intended. And that speech was intended for people in Labour, but also the general public.
Yeah. So he received 379 nominations from Labour MPs and from 23 affiliated organisations, including all 11 affiliated trade unions with Labour. I mean, it's pretty overwhelming. People say, why do we have a leadership election? What's the fucking point?
Exactly. What would be the point?
Anyway, one other proposed candidate received a single MP nomination today. Yeah. Didn't qualify. And that MP actually voted for nominated for Burnham.
Yeah.
So, you know what? In 2015, when Andy was running in 2015, they threw in Jeremy Corbyn as a bit of a joke candidate. Like the people who backed him.
But it wasn't a joke. It was intended. What had happened was, during Ed Miliband's time, a lot of Labour MPs, not ones remotely aligned with Corbyn, did not like the fact that they decided to effectively go along with austerity.
Yeah.
They were basically, they had the, I mean, there's a certain logic in it. They were basically came out of the election going, well, we can't tell the public they were wrong.
Yeah.
So they go, oh yeah, it was sort of our fault, the banking crisis. We're sorry. Oh yeah, it's our fault. The Tories are having to punish us with austerity. And like Jeremy Corbyn was like one of the biggest voices saying, will you try and think about what you're saying a bit more carefully? And so when it came to the leadership contest, whenever there's a leadership contest, all parties that do them want it to not just be about which leader you have next. They always want it to be this navel gazing exercise, this fundamental rethink about the direction they want to take, because they all obviously fail to realize they could just get themselves together in a room and talk about that. So they always insist on making leadership elections about this like directional talk, which is like really stupid. Do that behind closed doors. Yeah. So Jeremy Corbyn was nominated even by some MPs that really didn't want him to be leader to get that to make sure that conversation was part of the debate.
My point was going to be, Phil, that it kind of backfired.
Oh, it massively backfired.
So I'm happy now. My vote for Andy Burnham to be leader of Labour 11 years later has come to fruition. I got my way. Yes, he's now leader of Labour.
That'll have been the one where I'll have probably voted for Yvette Cooper.
Oh, right. Okay. I voted for Andy. So the first thing he said when he stood up to do his speech, which was less than an hour ago, he only started just after he got nominated. It was like a 15-minute nomination thing. They just stood up and went, well, no one else has stood.
I mean,
he's overwhelming.
You've got to have a procedure. There's got to be a formal procedure, but
But he first thing he did, credit Starmer. Credit Starmer with returning Labour to government. None of this sort of the Tories have done every time they've got a new leader where they sort of not mentioned the previous leaders.
Well, Labour generally haven't. Labour have generally, like the Tories, this is a new thing from the Tories, actually. What the Tories used to do, they used to be sort of proud of their legacy. They were wheeling out Margaret Thatcher when she looked like a mummy, And then this seemed to be a new thing for them, that they were ashamed of their leaders. But Labour have always been seemingly ashamed of their leaders. You don't generally get past Labour leaders being trotted out with the new one. So this is a bit different. And he also praised him for, like, he literally listed all of the things that Starmer had done. That if Starmer
Workers'
had done
rights,
now and
renters'
then,
rights, reduced NHS waiting list, public control of rail, Hillsborough Law.
yeah. Like, I mean, he did make mention of the fact that Keir Starmer and Andy Burnham both drafted the original Hillsborough Law.
Yeah.
Because Keir Starmer at the time was obviously a top lawyer.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Andy Burnham sort of consulted him.
Yeah. Yeah. And he also mentioned the big moment when in 2009, in April 2009, when he spoke at Anfield, Burnham spoke at Anfield, and he got booed and jeered to start with, and then he made his speech, and actually no, they sung "You'll Never Walk Alone," and he was just standing there like at the podium in the stadium, and that was the moment, I think, that the Andy Burnham that we know now sort of took form. And it's I think it's very fitting, as he said in his maiden speech in Parliament this week. It's very fitting that he comes in, at the culmination of that, which is the Hillsborough Law, which came back into Parliament this week.
Well, I said that there is a certain poetry about the fact that Keir Starmer has formed the law, but it's still got to get through the Lord. So it will be Andy Burnham as Prime Minister who steers it through that final passage.
Yeah. Final hurdles, get royal assent. Probably.
It's like a tag team almost, like a relay.
Autumn this year. He.
The Lords don't prat about with it.
Yeah, and the point he was making was how the state had failed. He's even said, "Look, we failed. Tories failed. Everything failed for the people working in this country. They've been let down," and that's something that I think will resonate with a lot of people.
I also think it's interesting. He's done this before. This isn't new. Specifically harking back to the decisions that were made in the 1980s. So what he's basically doing, I've not seen anyone comment on this, but this is what is occurring to me. It's almost like he's invoking that sort of concept of the damage that Margaret Thatcher has done.
Yeah.
Even though he hasn't named her, because that could be quite powerful, because a lot of the people that support Reform UK hate Thatcher, and they hate what Thatcher did to their communities, like in places where I live. And yet, Nigel Farage is a massive Thatcher fan. Like, there's two people, like in his real room, the room he, in his home and stuff like that, there are two portraits on his wall. One is of Adolf Hitler, and the other is of Margaret Thatcher. And in his secret chamber, right?
Also, we assume.
Allegedly.
People are saying.
But he's a mad Thatcher fan. So I think subtly Andy Burnham, if he's not doing it, bloody well should be doing. I think, really leaning into that the rot started in the 80s.
Yes,
allows him to then draw links with, it's almost like strategically, I'd be thinking, once he establishes that, once he gets people going, yeah, that's it, then he can say, and Farage supported it and he wants to take us back there.
Yeah.
It could be a very cunning long-term plan.
It could. I'm hoping.
Unless Farage backs out of this election and he fucks off tonight.
Yeah.
He's going to ruin my schedule. He's going to I can see it coming. He's going to absolutely knacker my schedule. I'm off out tonight. I can't do anything about it. I don't know if I'll be able to do a Friday night. I won't be able to do a Friday night social tonight. Do you know why? Last Friday I was in Liverpool. You off
and
out
it was
again?
so I could meet up with the Metro Mayor of Liverpool, Steve Rotham. Guess who I'm meeting this evening?
Can't pin face.
No, better than can't be face. I'm meeting with the Metro Mayor of the North East Authority, Kim McGuinness. Okay. So there you go. I'm just hanging out. They're like Pokemon. I'm going to catch them all.
Yeah. Okay. So you're going to go to my local Metro Mayor, which is Andrew Jenkins?
No, next. I would rather die. Anyway, but yeah. So his opening statement was about how the institutions, the government, Labour, Tories have failed Liverpool, had failed working class communities, and that is going to resonate. That will really resonate, because that's what the Brexit argument was, wasn't it?
Yes, and it's also Farage's argument.
Yeah. That this has failed. Let's try
Andy Burnham is going to be a more authentically everyman than Nigel Farage.
Yeah.
Who never should be taken as an everyman.
He also had
Andy
had a brilliant dig. He said that they're the ones who said take back control, but they're the ones who gave it away in the first place.
Precisely.
Wow, that's a good line. I was like, oh yeah, I wish I wrote that. I've never listened to a Starmer speech and thought, oh, wish I wrote that. But I thought that was a good line, really good line.
There's usually the good isolated line in there, but it doesn't come across. And we always knew this. This was always baked in. He doesn't come across as authentic enough. He's too stilted.
Starmer.
Yeah. On the camera, he's fine when you meet him. He's absolutely fine. If he could just behave as he normally behaves in front of a camera,
really nervous.
I think
he just gets really nervous.
Well, he does. I think he fears making a mistake.
Yeah.
And then he makes mistakes anyway.
Yeah, he overthinks.
He's made plenty of mistakes aneway.
He also did that thing where he never used to finish sentences. He just liked to the last word of a sentence, which would kind of drift off halfway through the word, which is like a weird thing to do, but whatever. So yes, Burnham included himself amongst a generation of politicians that have failed to challenge an economic and political system that does not serve ordinary people. And he's right about that. So yeah, the first pledge, as I mentioned, was to have a one Labour, promising to reduce factional conflict within the party.
See, the thing is, right, the way to do that is the same way anyone can do it, and that is, can he get the public on board? If he can restore Labour's reputation with the public, it will happen. And if he can't, it won't happen. It's really that simple. That's how you unite a party. You win. If you're winning, you'll unite the party.
Yeah.
If you're not winning, then other factions will go, well, we've got better ideas. Really,
true. But he's called on politicians across the board on solving problems rather than scoring points against opponents. Yeah. We'll have to see what happens there at PMQs in September. He talked about the Makefield result as being an opportunity for Labour, which the public patience will be limited, which he's completely right about. I mean, some people aren't even giving him a moment. He's not even Prime Minister, and they're like, he's going to be a disaster. I hate him.
Well, even then, like, there was a poll a few weeks ago that showed this massive Burnham bounce. And I said at the time, it's not a top tier pollster. We'll wait and see. The other pollsters are not showing any Burnham bounce. It was obviously bollocks. So, you're not allowed to read out that super chat, by the way. So the
just looking at that, I'm like, yep. As soon as Phil stops talking,
it's like a filibuster now.
He's going to have to filibuster for the rest of the show. But before we go on, thank you very much to Sarah Davis. £2 to see Phil dance. There you go, the Doctor dancers. But yeah, I agree, and I think that the way that Burnham is putting out his stall here is quite canny. It is like talking about, concentrating Labour's parliamentary strength on governing rather than fucking internal disputes. Yeah. Because I think people are sick of it. All these parties fighting amongst themselves and each other, and people aren't seeing their lives getting better. And it just
seems why it was important that this was such a smooth transition. The reason Kemi Badenoch was in such a bad mood on Wednesday, even though she was through gritted teeth trying to pretend to be nice, is because the Tories must be looking at this and thinking, oh, you can change leader really quickly and tidily. Okay. Because they made such a ham-fisted mess of theirs and they just assumed Labour would do the same. And it's like, no, we're just going to change leader.
What you mean when Kemi Badenoch became leader? That leadership contest when James Cleverly couldn't add up?
The getting rid of a prime minister, the Boris Johnson one. Getting rid of Boris Johnson was incredibly and because they let it drag out, they allowed Boris Johnson to drag it out. And as a result of that, the public really turned them over that. So if you remember, that's when in the wake of the full-scale invasion of Ukraine, they had an energy crisis. And people were crying out for the government to say what they were going to do about it, because we were looking at massive increases in energy bills that autumn. And Boris Johnson would say, well, I can't do anything. I'm not the prime minister, or I'm not going to be the prime minister. And it's like, well, can you get Rishi Sunak and Liz Truss together to agree with something? It don't matter who wins, you're going to do this thing. No, I don't think I'm going to do that.
No, I can do it really.
So the Tories did themselves no favours with their self-indulgence.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas Labour have just gone, do you know what, just going
I've
to
got some bad news for you, Phil. We've got another couple of super chats in. Sphere Lance says, I also want to see Phil dance. But SG says, so thank you very much, SG, for the £5 super chat. That's very kind of you. Oh, yes. A thumbs up from Phil is all we want. That's the equivalent of you dancing, just a thumbs up. when the confetti cannon goes off. So yes, we've got that. So the one Labour team, that was his first promise. The second promise was a new politics. He argued that politicians should concentrate on solving problems rather than scoring points. I've done this. The government will be expected to explain its own programme instead of relying principally on attacks against other parties. And as soon as he said that, I was thinking of you, because you've spent the last 6 years, 7 years trying to explain Labour policies to people because they're incapable of doing it. You might be off the hook, Phil. You might have to find other things to do.
Do you know what? I am.
Do you welcome them?
I am expecting him. See, here's the thing. Nigel Farage has very kindly donated lots of negative source material for me. I'm doing very well at the moment, I have to say. And but I expect Andy Burnham to provide me with the positive source material now. That's how I will judge him. Can I report on what he's up to and it does well? Because good news will do. Like one of my most viewed, I mean, you might think all the stuff that does really well is really negative. It's not. It's just you don't very often get really good news. Like when Labour did first win the general election, and I did a video on 3 appointments, none of them MPs appointments. It was things like Timpson, prisons minister and stuff. Just 3 of those. And that video did stunningly well for me. So people do want good news.
Yeah.
So he can give me the good news. Nigel Farage can give me the source material. And then Andy Burnham is going to give me the feel-good source material. That's his job. And if he does that, if it resonates, with my channel, it'll resonate with the public.
Yeah. Well, MZ is saying Burnham touring parts of the country, talking to ordinary folks. Hopeful start. Yeah, he was in Cardiff this week.
As I said, they should do that. He should spend summer
really good. Yeah,
going out and about, and then he announced it a few weeks ago. To be fair, and when he did, I thought good. Yeah. Because that's exactly what he should do.
Everyone feels slightly warmer to politicians that they've met in real life, even if it's a politician that they disagree on absolutely everything with. If they've met them in real life, they'll be a little bit warmer to them. Also, if they've got the same name as them, but that's something else. Daz, thank you very much for the £2 super chat. Should Andy get Count Face as Minister in charge of the bins? Well, one of Binface's policies, I don't know if this was AI or one of his actual policies, he's going to have a lot of
on his website. It's not on his website.
He's going to have a lottery each week in Clacton, and whoever wins the lottery, he's going to help them take their bins out.
He could. He could. I mean, it might be, but it's not on his website, I have to say.
SG, thank you very much for the £5 super chat. Ooh, I don't know why, but that thumbs up from Phil made me very weak at the knees. So we're going to have to ask you for another one, Phil, because I'm going to go 3, 2, 1, confetti! Yay! Thumbs up from Phil! Woo! Yeah! Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Phil. Very, very kind of you. So, yes, going back to his pledge 2 about new politics, he also called for a less toxic political discourse, a greater willingness to cooperate. And then
that's even harder than the
3,
unity one.
Distinctly Labour. Okay, so this is Burnham saying that Labour should establish its own political direction while retaining the ability to work with other parties.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of things about that. The first one is, again, what he's saying. Like a lot of the things he said, until he says how he's going to do it, it's just words. It's like it's window dressing, but it's important to do the window dressing because it's all about establishing a connection with people. But where it is interesting is where he very specifically said, we're not going to try and out-green the Greens, although I'm a little bit worried about what that might mean. But then he said, we're not going to try and out-reform as well. So Labour did try to out-reform on like immigration and stuff. Is that a sign that he is going to heed Labour MPs and go, I mean, they'll have to be a little bit, as I would describe it, immigration critical because the public are, but governments have done this in the past and gone, oh yeah, control immigration, absolutely control immigration. And then they've just carried on as normal. But at least get rid of the stuff that's not going to win any votes. It's not going to win any votes if you sort of say, Oh yeah, you thought you could apply for citizenship after 5 years. We're going to change it to 10 or anything like that.
Yeah.
How many votes does that win you? Don't win you any.
Not none.
If you want to win votes on immigration, do you know the thing they should do? Do you know one easy thing they should do?
Safe and legal routes.
No. Give votes to all EU citizens with permanent settled status in the UK.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I don't know why that wasn't in the manifesto.
Well,
Simon talked about it.
Take students off the immigration numbers.
Yes. They should break out like, here's the mad thing, right? We know from polling, there's types of immigration the public they'd rather immigration go up rather than reduce these. And we know it's things like students. They don't give a shit about students, right? NHS workers, care workers. Yeah. We know all of those things. The public, they want immigrants to come in and do those jobs, even if it makes immigration numbers go. So split it out.
Split it out. Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good idea. And also, I mean, Labour's had some real fucking success on bringing down the numbers. If that's what you want, they've brought down the numbers of immigration. It might even go net negative this year. More people leaving the country than coming into it. And the numbers of people coming over in small boats has been halved.
Yes.
And they're talking about safe routes.
Yes.
Which we've been banging on for quite a long time.
Yes.
On this and other
channels.
That's
how you do it. Like, at the end of the day, it's just maddening. You know, if you're like, people don't choose to come. Okay, not all of them will be genuine asylum seekers, but that's the whole point of checking.
Yeah.
Right. But people don't want to choose to go on a dodgy life raft with like 20 other people across a freezing cold stretch of water.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, he the one of the things that he pointed out as well, Andy Burnham in his speech, he said he didn't want to imitate the Greens. He didn't want to outgreen the Greens. He didn't want to.
Yeah, see, I'm worried about that.
The reform.
I quite like the line.
I like that line. I was like, stop trying to be something that you're not.
Yeah, but there's a lot of pressure at the moment for him to back off on the green agenda, and is that see, the out reform I like, not out reform, because then that's like he's gonna pull back from some of the performative bullshit on immigration and asylum. But then when you say not out green the Greens, now that could mean I'm not going to go into this populist bollocks, or is this we're not going to try and is he being lobbied by people who want him to rein back on the old net zero?
Well,
I'm worried.
But hang on. But the Greens can be a bit NIMBY. I was complaining about the Greens.
Oh no, they are.
But the new cables in for the electricity.
Yeah, sure. We need. But nonetheless, but reform would be as well. Like, when it comes to immigration and asylum, if reform were actually found themselves in power, they would not carry out their immigration policies consistently either. So, but in terms of their stated policies, I don't know. I'm just going to wait and see on that.
Yeah. I
like the sentiment, but I worry about. I'm always paying attention to politicians' words because they can be tricksy, and they need to be tricksy. And I'm always just thinking to myself.
He said that Labour policy should be presented openly and confidently rather than diluting them to anticipate criticism. And I always felt that about the Starmer way of doing things. It very much felt like they were hiding their light under a bushel, or whatever the expression is.
Yes.
They were never really like out and proud. Like, they were doing this for the workers. We're doing this for the renters. We're doing this to improve things for the NHS. They weren't shouting from the hilltops. Exactly. It was something that we complained about. Was like when Labour did occasionally do something absolutely fucking wonderful, nobody knew. It was left to you and a few other people on the internet. Like Joe and what's it called? Some of the podcasts to actually say, Labour are doing this right. And it was like, really? Really?
Yeah, no, it did my head in. It did my head in. The fact that they didn't tell, and it was as simple as they could have just sent out a newsletter every 6 months to every household. These are, not as a party political thing, as a government thing. These are your new rights. These are the new services available to you.
Yeah.
It would have been a public information campaign.
Yeah. But economic renewal, stronger public involvement and industrial development, and forming the broad basis of that direction. And this is stuff that he can do right away. There is stuff in here that he can do right away. I mean, the moving bits of the government to Manchester does not require permission from the House of fucking Lords. It's not going to take 2 or 3 years to come into fruition, and then
No.
finally, or things take 5 years to be built by the time.
But
we're well
also
into
that
the next,
that's a PR
government.
thing. What I'll be interested to hear, and he's got another speech later today. I'll have to catch up with it tomorrow, but that's fine.
Yeah.
Is does he announce anything that he's going to get onto right away?
Yeah,
because he might do. I mean, he might announce some very specific policy. I mean, he might get into trouble with Lindsay Hoyle. He doesn't like it when prime ministers announce these things not to the parliament. But does he sort of say, well, sorry, I'm just...
What's he going to do? Threaten you with a cup of tea?
Or threaten to take away the cup of tea or to make you buy him a cup of tea. I don't know,
you're going to have to buy your own biscuits. That's it. No more free bourbons for you, motherfucker.
But it's worth pissing off Lindsay Hoyle just once. But I would, it'd be interesting to see if he does announce something more tangible, because there was nothing tangible in today's. It was all feel good stuff, the sort of, we can do this, yes, we can, Obama stuff, but without the, I am going to do, like, it's the smart targets, isn't it? What is he going to announce tonight, a smart target, or this afternoon, which is basically, I'm going to do this thing, it's going to have this impact on your life, and it's going to be done by this time. Right? Is he going to do any of that? And if he does announce anything with a bit more meat on it, does that then kickstart his summer of getting out amongst the public, where he gets to, is it like, I'm going to announce this thing and get people talking about it, then I'm going to go out to the public and, we can talk about it.
Yeah. Chris C, thank you very much for the £5 super chat. My favourite quote from Burnham's speech, the right to use the phrase, take back control, but they're the ones who gave it away in the first place. Yeah, couldn't agree more, mate. I think that was a really, really, really good point, and hopefully one that resonates with some people. Because they go, hang on,
he'll have to use it a lot because, of course, only so many people will have watched that speech.
Oh, yeah.
So he will, this is the importance of getting out and about. He will need to decide his key sound bites and just repeat them ad nauseum, right? Yeah. Proper, my father was a toolmaker, only something that resonates a bit more. And to the point where a lot of people just get that line. That's what you do, though. You repeat something to the point where it becomes a meme.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, but something better than your dad being a toolmaker.
Yes, something better than that.
Yeah, so that could really work. That could cut through. Because one of the things, and I spoke about this on the show this morning, there was a guy on the radio, gammony, refucker type, and he said, I never vote for Labour, but I quite like Andy Burnham. And I think more people like that will mean that Labour won't have so much of a difficulty in the next election.
Well, again... I mean, he's talked a good game. If he was in opposition, this would all look really good, but he is in power. So he's going to have to deliver progress that people recognize as progress. But he will have an easier job of it because, first of all, Starmer, as he's suggested, has done things. Secondly, it sounds like he's going to have a megaphone talking about it. He's going to, be loud and proud about it. So he will be drawing people's attention. I just hope he understands that the media aren't going to do it for him.
No, absolutely.
And he can't do it himself. He's one person, right? Yeah. So, and say what he might, he is going to be stuck in meetings all bloody day. So he needs to get that comms team.
Yeah.
Good.
Agreed. Hard agree. So the next pledge was for the government for every part of the UK, promised to represent England's regions as well as Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland. He argued that people should not have to leave their hometowns or regions to obtain education, employment or advancements, which is something that I really do. Yeah. I absolutely back this 100% because I don't want to fucking live in London. And maybe that's held my career back. I don't know. That I just don't want to live down there because it's a miserable existence. You got to get up before the cock crows and get on the underground where you're stuffed in. It's like a fucking sauna. And then you got to go. I mean, I find the London Underground exciting because I only use it a couple of times a year. It's quite fun, working out how to get to the other. I've usually got a copy of the map in my top pocket here just in case I ever happen to pop down to London. Just in my pocket so I can get it out.
I hate it.
They don't give these out anymore. They don't give out these maps anymore. So I've got to keep this last one.
I mean, the problem is
you get your phone when you can't get a signal.
You can't. Exactly. That's the problem is, I actually just hate the sound of it. It sounds like an infernal engine. But you work out an hour where you need to go and do that, and then you fuck it up and you go to the wrong platform or something. Then you try and work out where to go, and you can't get back on your phone.
Can't get back on your phone. Yeah, it's a ridiculous thing.
You
Print
are left
them out onto
wandering around
paper
trying to find the right place.
Anyway, I managed to get one of the last ones that they actually bothered printing. But yeah, they argued that people shouldn't have to leave to get education, employment, and training advancement, and therefore national government would be expected to help individual places develop their own economic strengths. And this is great because I don't want a one size fits all from bloody London, which is what we have in this country. We've had for a very long time. I don't really agree with the national curriculum, Phil. I don't know how you feel about this as a teacher.
So you do have to, because you don't trust. You would get parts of the country where they fuck it up. So I'm fine with the national curriculum.
How come private schools don't have to follow the national curriculum?
Well, they should.
How come they don't get out?
Well, the main thing they shouldn't get out of is offset inspections. They should have safeguarding inspections at the very least. But what I would say is I do think there should be the concept of the actual national curriculum that we have, I don't think is necessarily great, but the idea of a national curriculum. Because it's standardizing it. But you've got to have a standard.
But I would argue that there are certain schools where exams, they want to lean more on exams because the kids are better at memorizing shit. Whereas other schools where the kids are a bit more practical, having them memorize all this stuff to do exams, which is all exams now, Phil. Like GCSE.
I've said for many years,
really exist
my teaching, exams, the way we do assessment is pointless. Like, for example, especially these days with phones, if you have to design exams such that you've also got to make sure no one's on a phone or something like that, it's like you're designing them incorrectly then, because you're supposed to be getting people ready for the workplace. In the workplace, you've got your phone. So if you're trying to assess someone in a way that means they can't use their phone, you're not assessing the right skills. You're not actually assessing the skills because they've got a phone.
And they will have a phone.
But the way we do assessments is bad.
Well, that's like in mathematics when you weren't allowed to use a calculator for years, and they decided to bring in calculators because in the real world you'll have a calculator.
But no, it's fine having a calculator and a non-calculator paper because there are some skills that are developed with mental arithmetic skills for which you wouldn't be able to have a calculator.
Well, exactly. So for what you're saying there, maybe they should have one English exam
what you were talking
access
about
the internet, and another one where you can't.
But what you were talking about is fact recall. Even Einstein, who was before the age of the smartphone, said it is a waste of your brain power to be remembering things you could just look up.
Yeah.
Like, what is the point of being made to remember a formula that you could just look up, or a date, if it's history, that you could just look up?
Pub quizzes, Phil.
Yeah.
Yeah, pub quizzes.
Until it's not
turn up, you just win every week.
The whole point of a qualification is it says you have certain skills that make you suitable to go on to, ultimately employment. Yes, I mean there's various stages of education first sometimes, but ultimately it's to say you've got the skills for this job.
Yeah.
So why are you being assessed in a way that isn't a realistic workplace scenario?
Yeah.
In the workplace, you can have a phone.
Yeah.
And you can look things up. Before phones, we had reference books. We could look things up.
Yeah.
So, and there were exams. Sometimes in science, you would have exams where you could have your reference book. In chemistry, you would have a data book. And that made sense. Because, well, of course you would have a data book, because you would do if you were working as a chemist.
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah, very true. Very true. But it's I think more so than ever now, because people are just pulled in by bullshit on the internet. Being able to sift out what's true and what's not on the internet is a fucking life skill that you should really be able to put on your CV. That and make it a decent cup of tea.
It should be standard. It should be universal.
Yeah.
Should be taught critical thinking skills and how to do things.
How to spot bullshit. Because it's protective of children as well.
Yeah.
I don't know if schools go into not just like rip-offs, not just people scamming them, but the predators on the internet who will extort children. And this is stuff that needs to be warned about in school, and I don't think that it is, Phil.
No, when I was a kid, you would have on the television, you had like stranger danger adverts, right?
Yeah.
And we just don't have the equivalents these days.
Internet stranger danger.
There's no like public information campaign aimed at kids to warn them of shady people online.
Yeah. The Guardian are calling this speech by Burnham a vibes masterclass.
But it is.
Emotional connection, optimism, and generalities apart instead of
There
specifics.
was no detail in it. It was vibes, but that's what you need. But what I'm saying is, because he's going to be in power for 3 years before the election, he is going to have to deliver. So I hope he's got a plan for some of this.
Well, yeah. Pledge 5, transfer power out of Whitehall, promise to move authority from central government to communities affected by its decisions. Local institutions will receive greater control over essential services and economic development. He cites the plan for my mate Steve Rotherham to return the entire Merseyvale network to public ownership in 2 years' time. As an example, he was also proposed equal status for academic and technical education, which I've wanted to see for a long time. I don't see why there shouldn't be a technical level, which is exactly the same as an A level.
The thing is, in
terms of,
they have, what I will say is, successive governments have tried to do this, including the Conservatives. Even they're not opposed to it. They actually tried to do it. And they just arse it up every time. And it is the one size fits all approach where it particularly goes wrong. So when I was just going full-time YouTube, so I was sort of leaving teaching, and they were bringing in a new tech levels, new T levels, they were called. And so I was part of like developing them, but I've not taught them, because then I left teaching before they were actually being delivered. And the major problem was that they reckoned, and this was under the Conservatives, they recognised that a one-size approach doesn't work, you need more regional. But the problem was then, they just basically said, well, their answer to that was get teachers to go and talk to local businesses about what skills they wanted to learn and develop, tailor your programme of study from that. And it's like, so now you're telling teachers, on top of everything else, to go out and talk to things and try and work out with business leaders who weren't that arsed, I have to say, the ones I approached, and try and work out and you had all these modules, and the idea was, well, you will cobble together the modules that fit in your area. And it just didn't work, because you were expecting teachers to do a load of extra work on top of their already high workload. Yeah. And a lot of the businesses you would approach that, like in areas, it might be different in places like London or cities, stuff where you've got massive businesses where you can get hold of someone. But around where I am, you've got these small engineering firms and stuff like that. And it's a lot of time for them as well. And they're like, well, mate, I might not even employ one of your students. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
So, but there has been ideas. No one's cracked it. So Burnham's, again, what he's saying is right. But it's also the same thing that Starmer's government was saying. It's the same thing that the Conservatives were saying, but none of them have cracked out to do it.
Well, yeah.
So we will see.
He also mentioned the fact that he's fucked up. He's fucked up in the past, and he apologized for that. And he said, we need to be honest about stuff like that, which is,
that's also good. It's basically
a politician before.
I mean, this is what he sort of needs to do in a cynical sort of way. Everything I've said that's pissed you off, I'm sorry for. And everything you like to see a politician do, I'm going to do.
Yes.
And just don't ask too many follow-up questions.
Yeah, but
that's the ideal.
I do, like, even someone like Zach Balansky, I mean, when asked about his whole making your boobs bigger thing, he should have just stood up and said, I fucked up there. Instead of going, well, it was an interview for the Sun newspaper. Well, that sounds even worse. Why are you doing an interview for the fucking Sun? And he's like, but, and I was saying this, and I was trying to give someone self-confidence about the press size. And I'm like, just say you fucked up. Exactly. Just say, I fucked up there. I shouldn't have done that. Sorry. Move on. I think people respond to that better than just politicians who can never, ever admit that they ever did anything wrong in the past or made a bad mistake. Paulie Donkey, thank you very much for the £2 super chat. Pedagogy 3.0 will now seem dark satanic mills. So there, I don't really know what that means. Ernie says the Conservatives did it through apprenticeships, but they were open to just being cheap labour and not good training and education. I think that's a good point. And MZ says it's a smartphone-free childhood school since around 2 years. Oh, sorry, someone else having a conversation. I'm just gonna jump in the middle. Cuthbert said, "I'll vote for anyone that makes women's boobs bigger." Thanks for that, Cuthbert. Binface Approach says, Ernie says, I'm going to cut your taxes and raise everyone else's. I do like that line.
Well, that's exactly,
Burnham described himself as pro-business. He presented cooperation. Sorry, what were you going to say, Phil?
I was saying my favourite bin-faced sort of policy line is where he says he would abolish auto-renew on all online subscriptions. And I'm just looking at the website here, and I always like this. And he says auto-renew is a tax on forgetting.
Yes. Yeah, it is. It's a tax on ADHD. Out of sight, out of mind. But yes, so he also proposed equal status for, like I said, academic and technical education, and also talking about providing routes for university apprenticeships, placements, and employment. And there's a huge problem in the country at the moment with young people not in work, absolutely massive, and that needs to be addressed. We've got university leavers who have got nothing to go into. They're sending out hundreds of CVs, not getting any jobs
and
back.
some of them are getting jobs that don't require anything like their level of education. And then that's depriving of the people who could do those jobs and don't have qualifications to, and so there's a knockdown effect on it.
Yeah. So he identified the 80s as a point when political authority became more centralized while economic assets were being privatized. He argued that communities
of ignoring a super chat.
Oh,
hornet gags. You might have done. Did
I miss one?
Yes.
Oh, hornet gags. Yes. Sorry, hornet gags. I missed that one. Burnham was in favour of Brexit at first, then wanted to rejoin the EU. Regeneration funds stopped, then walked it back to get elected. I have questions. Was he in favour of Brexit?
Well, I
don't think he campaigned.
He was not in favour of Brexit, but then he was in favour of not changing it after the referendum. He was saying, "Oh, we should probably just do it now." And then he's come back. All I would say is he is a bit tricksy. I think it's absolutely fair to keep an eye on him and see what he does as well.
Yeah.
But I will also say, to be fair, he has done what Starmer wouldn't, and Starmer's a much more obvious rejoiner at heart. He has said during the Makerfield by-election campaign, when he was specifically auditioning for the role of Prime Minister, so he was only at this point saying things he would expect to carry on saying as Prime Minister. And he did say we should at some point rejoin the EU. He wasn't committing to doing it himself, but he did say that's the direction of travel we should look at.
Yeah.
So that is further than Starmer's been prepared to go on it. So it is absolutely fair to say, let's see what he actually does, because he is a twisty turny thing.
I think you referred to him as a snake a few.
I did, yes. I will continue to refer to him as a snake, but some snakes are useful. They're not all evil. So let's hope he's got Carr's hypnotic abilities, and then it'll at least work in our favour. We hope. It's a bit like Nigel Farage. Like Nigel Farage supporters and Donald Trump supporters, a lot of them know that they're shady, but they think that they're going to do them some good. So they ignore the obvious dodgy behaviour because they think they will gain out of it.
Yeah.
Whereas in the case of Andy Burnham, hopefully we will. I'm fine. But, the people who need to will.
Yeah. He argued that communities have lost influence over housing, water, energy, transport, which is completely true.
But in some cases, they need to lose control
all my life. Well, since the 80s, we had deregulated buses in Liverpool. I grew up under deregulated buses in Liverpool, and it was shit, Phil. It was shit, and it's just got shit.
They were good in South Yorkshire.
And meanwhile, down in London, they've got the best integrated transport system in the known universe. And it's like, how come
Bin-Face may take exception to that.
How do you get such a good system that gets a Crossrail, that gets an extension to the fucking Northern Line, and we can't even open an old railway station in Liverpool, St James's, which is going to be called the Bolton Triangle. We can't even reopen a train station that's already there, Phil. It's already there. The tracks are already, the trains run along the track. It's like, how is this so difficult for Liverpool, but it's just a piece of piss for London to get whatever they fucking want? The amount of money that was put into the Olympics, the Stratford, all that area getting regenerated. And now the people who live there, their houses are worth 4 times as much as they were 15 years ago. How is that fair on the rest of us? We had to all pay for that. It's not like London just paid for the Olympics. We all pay for it out of our taxes. And the amount of benefit that Liverpool got is fuck all compared with the benefit that the people
of course.
Stratford.
This is the problem. London just sucks everything into it. It's a black hole for investment.
Yes. It absolutely is, and that's got to change. That's got to change. So this is winning me over. This is winning me over. He said the higher household costs and concentrated wealth in the case of fewer people and fewer locations are just ruining everything for everyone. And he connected the sale of council housing with the increased public expenditure on private rent, temporary accommodation, money from the state going to private landlords to pay off their second mortgage. And then he didn't use those words, but I will. And he also provided the political case for change, but he gave few details about.
Well, this is exactly it. He's identified the problems,
costs, timetables. Blah, blah,
yeah,
blah,
he's identified the costs, but not the solutions. Which is why I say, in opposition, that would work. That's all you have to do. You just have to identify problems all the time.
Yeah,
just like Farage is doing. But he is going to be in power. So he is going to need at least everything he said today. That's far too great. I don't believe I don't believe in 3 years' time we'll look back at everything he said today and say, oh yeah, he solved all that. Would he bother? But as long as he can get enough obvious progress made and not shit the bed.
Don't shit the bed, Andy.
Starmer, really, I mean, honestly, the winter fuel policy was just. It was just.
I think it was Mandelson, mate. He could have survived that. He could have survived a bunch of stuff. The Mandel stuff was just.
Mandelson was nothing. That's a Westminster bubble issue. The public don't give a shit. The big issue was Labour came in. They were supposed to ease the cost of living. First thing they
broke
did.
The camel's back. Then.
No, it wasn't. The first he'd lost it long before Mandelson. They know from their own polling it was the winter fuel allowance. They came in promising to ease the cost of living pressures, and the first thing they did is say we're going to take money off pensioners, even though those pensioners were still net better in that first winter. But it was like they came in, it was just and that's the importance of the perception game. That's why Burnham doesn't have to deliver on everything he talked about today. He just has to keep talking about it. He has to deliver on some things, but he just has to keep talking about the things he wants to do, keep talking about it, and people go, oh, but Andy Burnham wants to do this thing, so we'll keep him in power.
Yeah, good point. Well, number 10 North, obviously, is going to be a big part of that. He's back nationalising Thames Water. I know we talked about this before.
I mean, that's going to go to the wall anyway. So,
what you mean that they're going to go bankrupt?
Of course they are. They're unsustainable.
So what's going to happen? I mean, it's going to cost the taxpayer a fuckload of money to take it back under public control.
It won't necessarily cost to take it back under. I just worry about the transitional period. You could, in theory, get it for next to nothing, if not actually nothing. The worry is always, where does the money come from for the investments?
Yeah.
Because there's £100 billion worth of investment, not for Thames Water, but across England.
Well, we can sell all the stuff in the bank, the British Museum. This is my new plan, Phil.
Oh yeah, so your plan is to adopt Thatcher's idea of selling national assets?
No, they're not. They're someone else's, mate. We stole them.
Well, we don't sell them then, do we? Give them back.
There's like 6 million objects there that aren't ours.
So then we shouldn't be selling them. That's fencing.
Well, one man's fencing is another man's freedom fighter.
We should give them back.
Okay, all right. The big ones we should give back. The big ones that need to go back to their ancestral homes, fair enough. But then we've got loads of stuff that, we could sell to these billionaires who've got too much money. They don't know what to spend their money on. How much do you think
you're going to sell like a shrunken head for?
Oh, $1 million each. And then we've got 6 million of them. We've got 600 million shrunken heads in the no, but only 1%. No, it's less than 1% of the stuff in the bank. I don't keep going to the bank. I mean, the British Museum, less than 1% of the stuff that they actually own is on display. So just sell off the other 99%. Who cares? No one pays to go see that
back for free. Anyway, I'm not convinced that the British Museum is the economic.
I've got your money now. I've got your money for Thames Water. I've got your money for the restructuring of the. I
strongly suspect you haven't. But I'll tell you what. You suggest it. You go and suggest it to Andy.
Sell it all. Just sell it. Just sell it. Give the stuff back that needs to go back and everything else. We need to talk about that, but we'll come to it in a moment. So Burnham, his housing programme, substantially expanding council house construction. Now, you don't think it's a good idea because it's just going to give the Tories...
It's not that it's not a good idea, it's just a risky idea because...
They're just going to sell them off.
Right wing come back and they just do exactly what Thatcher did again.
Yeah.
And then not only do you have much less council housing, you also then the next time Labour in power, they're the ones who have to pay for it all, because we know that council house sell-off, it wasn't even sold off at cost. It actually cost communities to give these people a cheap house so that the Tories could get a voter for life.
Yeah.
That's my worry about it. And there's nothing this is why I'm more keen on housing associations, because then it's like, well, it's not the government's. Like, I'm happier with housing associations. Even then, it's not proof, but it's not as easy. I'm not saying there shouldn't be more council houses, but I just worry that all you do is let the Tories have an easy way to lower taxes, get a load of money coming in to plug up the gap, make a load of voters for life, and then you're fucked for 20 years.
Well, I mean, we're still fucked from the Tories doing that in the 80s when they sold off all the council houses to the...
Well, yeah, but that's just because they didn't build enough actual houses. It's much better if you can get... I mean, that's why it's a vote for life. If you give someone a place, that's all right to live in, great. If you can let them own their own place, that's really powerful.
Yeah, Andy's saying make it so the houses are illegal to sell, but that's the thing. The Tories will get in and make it legal again.
Yes.
So
you can't. You can make a law, and then the next government can come in and repeal the law.
Yeah. So one of the other big points that resonates with me is social care. His father has Alzheimer's, giving him direct personal relevance to this matter, and they're going to have to sort out funding, eligibility, workforce pay, local authority provision, and the relationship with the NHS for what he wants to do, which is create a form of national care service, something either to run inside the NHS or parallel with the NHS. This is a big feat. I mean, this is almost as big as building the NHS in the first place.
Yes,
exactly. Do you think this is possible?
I don't know. I mean, he has talked. I mean, Labour did have a plan. I mean, they were sort of work. I mean, they've basically got some, like, I don't really call it like a commission going to try and come up with recommendations. You just try and think about how you could do it. So one of the ways you could do it and tie it with, again, these, if you've got areas that are a bit economically knackered, they tend to have larger proportions of elderly populations. And my suggestion has been, if you look at an area and it's struggling, it's in economic decline, and therefore an ideal place for Reform UK to get in, and it's not realistic to suppose that private investment will rescue it in the next few years, the government should just create jobs, minimum wage jobs. Now, one of them could be care work. You could literally just have government care service in those areas. The problem is it'd be a bit piecemeal then. But it would really, I worked it out, if you, as well as I could anyway, you could literally just create hundreds of thousands of minimum wage jobs, and it would only cost you a few billion a year. When you consider that most of that pay comes straight back to the Treasury, immediately. So I'd be in favour of something like that. But in general, I mean, you know how it works. In order to get the sheer number of care workers we need, we're going to need immigration.
Yes. And also incentives to have more kids, which we don't have at the moment. We have incentives to not have children.
Yes,
but they're little and annoying. I mean, they cost too much. David Faulkner, before we go on, 38 Hong Kong dollars. The greatest danger to the UK doesn't come from Russia, Iran, or China, or another pandemic. It's Farage and Refuck who would really bugger us. Go Burnham.
Yeah, but they come from Russia. Farage is a Russian creation, effectively.
Russia
he would be nowhere without the Russian state. We wouldn't even know who he was. He'd be that bloke who'll have a plane.
Yeah. Okay, so what else? We got social care. We've got money and fiscal rules. Burnham has committed himself to Labour's existing rules requiring current expenditure to be covered by revenue and debts. His plans remain compatible with the 2024 manifesto.
That's his mandate.
The restrictions that leave limited room for simultaneous expansion of housing, social care, defence, local government, public investment, and he's acknowledged that the additional revenue may be required. So we're getting to new taxes, but even something like that, we talked about land value tax, it'll take a long time to come in, structural change.
You could do a land tax. You could phase it in. You could reform council tax and bring in an alternative form of land tax on wasteful land.
Yeah.
Before the next election.
Yeah. To just talk about that. Well, first of all, I just want to mention the defence and industry. Burnham supports rebuilding Britain's military capability in response to a more dangerous international environment, but he wants more equipment manufactured domestically rather than purchased from America, etc., which is understandable. But we need to talk about the Chancellor question. So Shabana Mahmood has been emerged as the reported front runner to replace Rachel Reeves. Now, people don't like Rachel Reeves. I don't know if you know this, Phil, but people don't like her. I think they're going to dislike Shabana Mahmood.
The thing is, right, there's two things there. So first of all, and I was saying in my stream earlier, Rachel Reeves actually did a really good job as Chancellor. She did a good job on the economy, to the point where, like, the Tories should be crowing about the fact that the economy is failing, right? Because the Iran war would have buggered it up, and it hasn't. So she has made it resilient, like she said. But also, but she messed up politically, and that's why she's unpopular.
Yeah.
Now, Shabana Mahmood, I mean, I've done a video about this today. Here's the thing. So people think to themselves, so she's socially conservative, a bit like Blue Labour, because the thing that's in your face is on the stuff on immigration, asylum and things like that. And then they think, oh, a little bit like the Tories. Then they just assume they're Tories. Whereas I don't know where Shabana Mahmood stands economically, because she doesn't really talk about it. But I'll say two things. The first of all, we know where Andy Burnham stands economically, and he is going to appoint a chancellor that backs his economic priorities.
Yeah.
So whoever he appoints, by definition, is on board with what, because he isn't just going to pick him out of the sorting hat.
I know.
He's going to go, this is what I want you to do. Can you do it? But the second point I'll make is Blue Labour are incredibly left-wing. People have weird, they are. The people have, let me just, right, let me tell you about specific policies they have. They are very pro-nationalisation. Massively pro-nationalisation. They are very anti-American tech in government departments. They hate Palantir, right? This is surprising people because people just thought, oh, they're all this anti-immigration stuff. They must be like Tories. They're not. And people don't get it. There's this massive groundswell. There's this huge block of voters in this country that are left-wing, but they're socially illiberal, right? You know, they're anti-immigration, lock the buggers up and throw away the key type people. Oh, we shouldn't have woke, all that sort of stuff. But they are economically very left-wing. They are pro-nationalisation. They are pro-workers' rights. They are anti. And the thing is, what I would say about Blue Labour, if you compare Blue Labour in terms of the Tories, in terms of their nationalism, because they're like nationalists, the Blue Labour are at least consistent. Right. So the inconsistency with the Tories is they talk about like sovereignty all the time. And yet what are they doing? They're giving away the state to foreign companies. Blue Labour don't like that. They are actually consistent with their nationalism. When they talk about sovereignty, they sort of mean it. They think that the essential things in the country should be managed by the British state. So they're very pro-nationalisation. They're very anti bigger foreign corporations, including American corporations, us being too reliant on them for essential things. So these are the sorts of, so if you think about Andy Burnham's economic agenda, which is very pro-nationalisation and, you know, state intervention, if she is very much aligned with Blue Labour, and she hasn't really talked, I've not seen her talk much about economics, but if she is, she's actually the ideal person to lead the Treasury because there's three huge advantages. First one is she's already aligned with that. If she is Blue Labour, she's already aligned with the idea of we don't want American tech everywhere, and we do want state control of public services. Second, she is effective. She is politically canny in a way that Rachel Reeves was not. So she's not likely to shit the bed there.
What sets her out from Rachel Reeves as being sort of politically canny? What would you say?
Because she is actually everything she's set out to do, she's managed to do. Whereas if Rachel Reeves set out to piss off the public, then job done. But I don't think she was. The third advantage is if you don't like Shabana Mahmood's social policies, well, what's the only job in cabinet where you have absolutely no control over social policy?
So you'd rather that she was Chancellor rather than Home Secretary?
If like, put it this way, if she remains Home Secretary, Andy Burnham can't change any of those performative bullshit policies because that would be a U-turn from her and that would hit her credibility. Whereas if you move her to the, I'm not saying, by the way, she will be Chancellor or even that I think she'll be the best person, but there's a lot of advantages to it. If you move her to the Treasury and you get in another Home Secretary who, okay, is going to have to talk tough on immigration, but basically, you know, can you get rid of all that bullshit that Shabana did? You can easily do that. That's not a U-turn. Yeah. Because Shabana Mahmood is now at the Treasury and it's now a different Home Secretary. It's obvious if you're going to change the Secretary of State, they're going to have different ideas. So some things are going to change. Of course they are. So that all seems then quite natural if that's what Andy Burnham wants to do.
Yeah.
And that statement about him not trying to reform does suggest, he hasn't said so. Again, it's been light on detail, but that suggests he would. So it would be quite a tidy thing. The only downside with appointing Mahmood is if you've got... well, what other downsides are there?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of people who absolutely fucking hate her, Phil. Like,
but for a social policy,
yeah,
that's got nothing to do with the Chancellor. Has no.
You're coming in here with your logic. You're bringing logic to an emotion fight.
Not.
Yeah, I know, but like most people will just look at her and go, "I don't like her. I don't like her. I don't want to do anything."
That's politics.
Would it not be smarter to pick someone who's not necessarily on the front benches at the moment, who one's developed a negative taste for?
I'll challenge it every single time. There's too many people in politics go, I don't like this thing about them, therefore they go in the bad person cabinet, and therefore I'm going to assume all sorts of other things about them. They must disagree with, if they disagree with me on this one important thing, they must disagree with me on everything. So therefore, if I'm pro-immigrate, if I'm sort of pro-nationalisation, well, she must be anti-nationalisation because I don't like her, right? But that's bullshit. And it's our job to call out bullshit. Not go along with it because it's easier.
They don't pay me enough.
But they pay me enough. So the downside, the major downside, is she doesn't really have economic experience. Like Rachel Reeves has bags of it.
Yeah.
Ed Miliband has some.
Yeah.
She has none.
Yeah, that's true. But however, you say that, but sterling strengthened and the government borrowing costs fell slightly after reports.
Yeah, but you know why that was? You know why that was? Because they were shitting themselves at Ed Miliband. So it was more of a relief thing rather than a vote of confidence in Mahmood.
Get someone from the back. Get someone from the backbenchers who's good at numbers. You know, pass the test to be a conductor for a bus company.
So you want them to take a risk? I think Andy Burnham should take as few risks as possible, quite frankly.
And you don't think Mahmood being Chancellor of Exchequer with no experience of adding up is a risk?
No. Because the Chancellor doesn't do the adding up.
Well, yeah.
The Chancellor, like the leader of every single government department, is in charge of policy. So all I hope is whoever is the new Chancellor, just because the media are going about her.
Do you not want it to be Miliband because it will upset the apple cart? I
want him to stay at Energy because he's actually done a really good job at Energy.
He's excellent. Yeah, like that.
Now, if he was to move anywhere else, okay, the Treasury would be my choice. However, all right, you've got to think about it this way. So he's going to name his Chancellor on Monday. It will be September at the earliest before they can really say anything.
Yeah, we'll probably get a mini budget, won't we, in September?
Well, that's what I'm thinking. Yeah. Now,
the last mini budget we had in September went so well.
This is what I'm worried about. All it takes is for over the summer for there to be a level of uncertainty that makes people nervous, and we end up with a bit of a loss of investor confidence, and you fucked it for good. Yeah. You can. This is one of the things you could argue was a bit like Rachel Reeves. I thought was really good, but she was excessively cautious. But I can understand it because she knew she could go a little bit further. Look at capital gains tax. So in her first budget, she increased the rate of capital gains tax. Then she increased it a little bit more. And it's almost like little bit. She daren't do too much, because if you do too much, then you fucked it. So it's like, can I do a little bit more? And so she was excessively cautious, but I do understand why, because if she'd have just got it slightly wrong the other way, she's knackered it.
Yeah.
And that's it, finished. Goodbye.
Okay, so we're going to have to wrap up in a moment. Before we do, I just want to say, if we get one more super chat in, we can release the Boba Fetty Phil's favourite. We've got bin fetty now.
seen
You
it
know,
once.
we've got bin fetty comes up.
All right, have you?
Do you want to see the bin fetty? No,
Does someone have to give you £1 million for that or something?
No, it's just we have different confeffis and people can ask which confetti they want. But yeah, so round this all up. First of all, marks out of 10 for that speech, Phil, from what you've read about it.
It was a very good speech. Honestly, I would say 9 out of 10 in terms of the vibes, but he's got to follow it up.
Okay. No more than 3 years until the next election is due. It's got to be at July 2029 at the very, very latest. Probably be a little bit earlier than that. Probably May.
Yes, you would think May.
May, yeah. Many of his central proposals require institutional changes, which, first of all, will take a long time. Might take longer than that. And also the benefits from them will take even longer. So that's going to be difficult. And I hope he can pull some rabbits out the hat with people going, oh, well, that's good. I can contact this person now who's closer to me than someone down in London, etc. Whatever. Yeah. But his cabinet picks are going to be very, very interesting. So we find that out on Monday as soon as he becomes Prime Minister, or is it going to be leaked out?
So it's one of those things. He might... there might still be some announcements to be made on the Tuesday, but Chancellor will be first, and then you move your way down. Because in theory, you can have a conversation and they turn it down, right? It's a bit like, when you're appointing someone for a job, you ring the person who's got it before telling the people they haven't, like. Yeah. So you go down. So the Chancellor will be first, and then it'll be the big ones first. I will just put out one thing, though. I just want to say one thing. But if I had been at a press conference and he was taking questions, you know what I would ask him? Just cheekily. Cool. So So Keir Starmer promised that if England won the World Cup, that we could have a bank holiday. So we won't be needing that bank holiday now. So I would ask him, so if Count Binface becomes the MP for Clacton, can we have a bank holiday for that? Can we have the Binfetti for that?
Yeah. No, we can have. Sarah has just dropped £2 in the Super Chat fund, so I'll set this up and we can actually have Binfeffy, the new Feffy that I allow to be on this show. Just give me 1 second. 1 second. Here we go. We should 3, 2, 1. Bin Feffy! Yay! It's Count Binface there. You have to wait. You'll see it in a moment. But there you go. He's bobbing around in the middle of the screen. Lovely. So thanks very much to Sarah. Phil, thank you so much for coming on the show, talking us through
problem.
Andy's speech. We didn't get really thoughts about any other domestic politics that's been going on this week. There's been a lot of it, but obviously,
it's the nominations close at 4 o'clock today for Clacton, and there's some people wondering if Nigel Farage will not actually stand.
It'd be fucking hilarious if he doesn't. It'd be absolutely fucking. But it could mean that Lawrence Fox becomes the MP.
I think Binface will win
against Lawrence Fox.
Yeah. Lawrence Fox gets hardly any votes.
I know, but
and also there's people out campaigning for Count Binface.
He doesn't want them to. He's like, it's not to do with me. But yeah, bin holiday.
Got to win.
Instead of a bank holiday, a bin holiday.
Who do you want? Piers Corbyn?
Oh God, imagine. Anyway,
Monster Raven Looney Park could get their first ever candidate.
Did you see in America that this knobhead, what's his name, Lindsey Graham died, right? He carved it. And you see who's taking his parliamentary seat? His sister?
Yeah,
that's
sister,
the state.
Yeah.
That's
because it's one of those states where the governor gets to appoint them.
It's fucking crazy.
Trump said, make his sister go. I mean, obviously there'll be an actual election to sort it out in November.
Yeah, in November. But in the meantime, I mean, imagine if Jeremy Corbyn was in a car accident a few years ago, and then his brother got to be leader of the Labour Party. Because he's his brother. It's like, what kind of system do they have over there, Phil? Like, I thought they said they didn't like monarchies and ancestral,
I know.
ancestral divine right absolutism, handed down by the God who decides.
Maybe
to
she'll
be
shit
king.
the bed, and then it'll mean that I don't know. I have actually not looked at his seat and how safe it is for the Republicans, but.
It's very safe. It's very safe. South Carolina.
So,
but it was safe for him. So. It was safe for him.
Yeah.
And
if she shits the bed, who knows?
There's another state, Kentucky, that has the same sort of rule, Phil.
No, it doesn't. It did do. They changed it 2 years ago.
Oh, really? Because I thought that if Mitch McConnell died, then the governor gets to choose who gets
that
to be...
was the rule until I looked it up, because I did do a video on it. They looked it up, and I reckon the reason they changed it is because they were looking at Mitch McConnell thinking, we don't think he looks too clever. We've got a Democratic governor.
Yeah, exactly.
So they changed it.
Whoopsies. Okay, tricksy bastards. Anyway, Phil, thank you so much for coming on the show. I hope you have a great weekend. Phil's show, you're doing a live stream tomorrow, Phil? 7 o'clock?
Yes.
Live stream of Phil's 7 o'clock on at a different bias. If you've liked this stream, or if you haven't liked it, whatever, give it a dislike if you didn't like it, but give us some interaction. Subscribe if you haven't already subscribed, and hit the bell notification icon so you can know when we're going live again. I'll be back tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock, nice and early for the morning brew. And until then, thanks so much to my wonderful co-host, Phil Moorhouse. Thanks to you for watching. And until next time, hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.